So with that said, we are speaking with a state use there, which would be either a combination of like a small office and some storage, which would be extremely limited parking, especially during the peak hours of evenings during the week and late morning, early afternoon during the weekend. And then the last piece of the puzzle is we're in pretty far along negotiations with a Mexican restaurant called Condesa. Has 4 locations, 2 in Rhode Island, 2 in Massachusetts, and this would be the 5th location, which we feel would be a great use or a great addition to the town. With that space, it's basically, if you're familiar with the site, and maybe, is it possible to maybe go up, push the site plan up a little bit?
Can you make that bigger there?
Go to the next page, or the first page, maybe?
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, because you're showing the job lot side, the north, kind
Can
of
you
eastern
change
part
the
of the
view?
property.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I need to figure out. Yeah.
Just trying to figure out how to get,
Yeah, there you go.
There.
So yeah, just move that up to, I think, page 1 of this, or I'm sorry, page 3. There you go. So, are you sharing that one right now?
I'm not, I will
Okay,
do it in
I'll
one
let you,
second.
I'll let you get to that. There you go. Perfect. Awesome, that works. So what we're talking about is, obviously the focus is on the JCPenney. So the northern part of the JCPenney box is the former catalog space, which we built a section of like frontage retail on kind of a little bit further south of there, which initially we were talking about doing some temporary storage uses there, but then we realized that we have frontage for retail, and then we have that back space back there, which has a canopy, which would be conducive to a patio, and then we started thinking, well, this would be very conducive to a restaurant. So what we're proposing there is approximately 6,300 square feet of restaurant space, which, would be kind of a higher-end Mexican restaurant. It would be approximately 150 seats, and then that would also include some of that patio space there. Obviously, there's building approvals, which would include, grease traps, sewer taps, a variety of things right there. Right now, it's kind of a gray shell, I would call it. But what we're looking at is essentially kind of a reduction of the retail space by 8,300 square feet there, but the addition of 6,300 square feet of restaurant, which by its definition is a little bit more parking intensive. So what we did was we had Kimley Horn update the study that we did last year, which was approved by the town, and basically we have what we feel during the weekdays approximately 83 additional parking spaces than required by the ULI or the UTI codes, which were approved by the town last year. And during the peak hours of the weekend, which would be between 12 and 2 o'clock p.m., we're showing an additional 9 parking spaces, which basically is a slight reduction from, I think we were showing 12 or 13 with the prior study during the peak weekend times, with traditional retail taking up the whole space. And this also assumes that the Everybody's Fitness, which currently is vacant, is a traditional retail use as well. So that's kind of the peak retail. What we have approved and which we're moving forward with is on the northern end, where the salt deposits used to be, where we used to keep for plows and stuff like that. We have, and the town approved the 12 Tesla charging stations, which is in the kind of the late stages of civil planning and getting easements done with National Grid to get a transformer there. It's not going to affect the parking spaces. Those are, and I know this question has come up a few times, those are non-exclusive parking spaces, meaning somebody with a regular car that runs on gasoline or diesel or whatever could park there. They're not exclusive, and I know there was some concerns about potentially people, having repercussions or something along those lines. The reality is, we're being mandated in other places with new developments to include electric vehicle charging, which is basically close to 20% of the total parking here. What we're proposing with the 12 here is like less than 2% of the parking of the total shopping center. And the reality is, most of the people, I would say, and again, we don't have hard numbers on this, but I would say at least 90% of the people that are parking, charging their cars, are patrons of the shopping center. For us, the Tesla deal is not anything, it's like an amenity. We're not making any money off of it at all. They're putting in a huge infrastructure, yes, but we're not charging any rent for that. That's something that we feel and our tenants love to have there. Roberto, who is the restaurant owner operator, he's here with us. I was at his property in Warwick, or his restaurant in Warwick on Friday night at 6:15, which is kind of the peak hour for restaurant times. And I counted in the parking lot that there was 7 electric cars and 1 plug-in hybrid. So I made special note of that. So I have a feeling that those people will be using that. And just so you're aware, Tesla is opening up to all electric cars or plug-in hybrids by the end of this year. So that was rumored, but it's been formally announced. And I think the last numbers that we had for national sales of electric vehicles, it was 8% in June, or May or June, 8.1% electric, and then 4.3%, or 4.1% plug-in hybrid. So I think that this is, a great future amenity, and we just kind of need to assume, again, they're listed as not exclusive, and we need to assume that the patrons of the property are going to be using those spaces. So really, kind of in summary here, right here we have basically the orange line is the 638 parking spaces that are at the property, and then the blue lines, and this is the weekday peak. The blue lines are the peak time frames during the week, and you'll see that you're hitting it at around 6 o'clock at night during the week. And that's probably in it's at the low 500s at that point. So that's where we have that 83 parking spaces. The time it does, get a little bit tighter is the 12 to 2 on Saturdays, most likely Saturdays, and we just listed it as Sundays as well. So yeah, that's really where we're at. What we're asking for is this special exemption to get it done. Obviously, we have to comply with building code for a restaurant use. But we feel it's really a great addition to the town, and it's a really, Class A facility that, will be just something that, these are long-term commitments from all these tenants that are here. I mean, it's either 10 to 15 years from all the tenants, and it's really just a complete private investment into the town of Sturbridge, and we feel it'll be a great use. And really, for us, the big thing is, for the tenants specifically, is to have enough parking. If there's not a business case for it, we wouldn't be here to do it. I've seen a lot of deals die because of parking, and this is not one of them. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer, and to the best of my ability, and Bill Scully from Kimley's here to assist as well.
Very good. Dane, do you have any questions, comments?
That was very comprehensive. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any bike parking facilities on site?
Like bicycles?
Yeah.
No, we
Racks or anything like that?
we don't. I don't believe it's required, but we do actually have a ton of room out there to put them in there. Are people biking to the property off of Main Street? I guess that's my
I see people
comment.
biking all over town. I was
Gotcha.
just talking about cars. I was
Sure.
just wondering.
There's a big push, certainly the last 10 years
Yep.
towards it. So I'm sure we can find some good spots.
Obviously, we wouldn't want to replace a parking spot since that's a popular conversation here. But
Yeah.
There's a lot of excess space around the fringes on this property.
Yeah, and one of the comments, and maybe it could be handled in building, is where the proposed kind of patio space in that canopy area, that's the dotted line right there. There's about, I measured it today, there's about 23 feet kind of square on both sides that I was looking at it, that won't interfere with the truck access that all the tenants essentially need. Shaw specifically has a lot of truck traffic there. I was thinking that could potentially be something like parking or bicycle racks there. But that said, though, we have a big, I didn't realize with the demolition of the JCP canopy, that we have a big open space there. And we initially had proposed some sort of like kind of potted plants or something like that. We might still do that, but there's enough room for bike racks there that it won't interfere with like ADA requirements. But what I've seen Roberto do is, they put the potted planters there, those big potted planters in the patio area, that, obviously act as a natural, barrier to that. And I think we could potentially add bike racks either in front of the building or, in that area, that kind of square area there, if we don't add a couple parking spaces there. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Jean, sorry, sounded like you wanted to jump in there.
Well, I do. I don't think it's a great location for parking, and also because if they're going to serve alcohol out there, which
Yes.
I'm guessing you would want to, who doesn't want margarita with Mexican food? But you'll be required to put some kind of bollards or, short concrete wall or something, and I think public safety may have a concern with parking that close to the,
I'm just throwing an
Yeah,
idea out
yeah.
there for sure.
Right.
It seems like something that could fit, but I totally understand. The one thing I want to point out in the back is that there are, along the back there, which is definitely not utilized, is there's 14 spaces there along that back row, and then there's 2, or it might actually be more. It might be 19 spaces. I think there might be 22 spaces back there. I sent a note to myself. Of course, I can't find it. Where's that? Oh, yeah. No, so, yeah, there's 22 out back, including those 2 that are adjacent. So I think peak service hour, there is about 12 employees for a restaurant. And we've had discussions with Roberto. First of all, people do come together. They drive in carpools. But we've talked about having, people park, the employees park back there when they're there for sure. So,
Okay.
yeah.
In addition to locating a potential bike rack all the way at the very northern portion of the building, one potential idea might be more proximate to the rest of the retail store frontage.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, we have tons of room there. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned the Tesla electrification of those northernmost spaces there. Do you
Yes,
know
yeah.
roughly how that power is going to run with that big? You have a huge retaining wall there. Have you had conversations?
Yeah,
about
so where if you go a little bit further, kind of southeast, I know the property kind of skews kind of sideways. We're getting an easement we're providing an easement to National Grid. They're connecting to conduit there. They're going to actually run conduit underneath that landscaped area that's there. They're not going to disturb any of the trees, and it's going to go to where that cross-hatched area is on the far left over there. That's where the transformer is going to sit for Tesla, and then obviously the conduit runs underneath there. There's going to be it's a little overgrown in that section there. They're probably going to be trimming back a little bit, but the individual stations are going to be sitting all there. There's 12 of them.
Right, and you had mentioned that area was previously used for salt sand storage, and
Yeah.
Where will that be provided on
Salt
site in the
salt
future?
sand storage is sitting basically in that north west corner right there. It's that kind of shaded area, the little triangle back there. You see it?
The one that she's
Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's where any other equipment, snow removal equipment will be.
They don't
parked as
keep
well?
any snow removal equipment on site. He doesn't keep a plow on site.
Okay.
So he comes with his truck, but that's where the sand is going. It's already been arranged. And we've told him to cut back on that. We've had conversations about that because he was keeping stuff for other properties there. So that's not happening anymore.
Yeah, and that works okay with truck access?
That absolutely works okay with truck access. That's a marked area there. So,
Great.
yeah.
And that space is similar to the space that you currently have for it?
Yeah. So it's a little bit smaller, but he was storing stuff on site that he was using for other properties, and we've quaboshed that.
Those are all my questions, thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Sue?
You mentioned the bike rack and I'm just need to understand, in lieu of the potted flowers?
No, I mean, I don't know what we're going to do with,
Right.
I'm assuming that we're going
The
to,
potted flowers just
Yeah.
would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we probably
the
need to
bike
put
racks.
bollards and potted flowers, and that's more of a building department and public safety thing.
Yeah.
I think the intent is to dress up that area there. That's one area where we didn't really do much to the facade because we didn't really have a plan. Frankly, you probably see it still has the slatted kind of.
Talking about in the back there.
Yeah, where the
Yeah.
catalog is, the
Right.
catalog area is. So that area needs some love. And I think, again, if you saw what Condessa's build out looks like in their exterior is at other sites, even if you want to Google them or Yelp them, you'll see that it's going to be of comparable quality. And that's really more of a building plan type thing. But yeah, I mean, we'd
Chris.
comply with bollards or whatever needs to be done there. Not a
We'd be
problem.
able to also fit in, the four capacity loops.
Right.
At a couple of different spots along the frontage, at different stores.
Yep.
Which then someone biking, going to.
And use and hook
AutoZone,
it,
boom,
yeah.
there.
Rather than the traditional bike rack. Right.
Yeah, I just frankly, I mean, I don't live in town, but I really haven't seen too many bicyclists, but I'm happy to do it because I'm pretty sure that sidewalk we have there is way bigger than what it looked like when it had a canopy over it. So-
I mean, times are certainly changing, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a bike pull into that plaza. I could be wrong, but I don't recall ever seeing a
But
bicycle
there's no
go in.
place to park.
Right.
But it might change, I mean,
It might,
I
it
think
might
it's great to
change.
consider, but I guess it's
It's
something
like the
to
electric
consider.
plug stations,
Right, right.
you know?
Things change, I guess, yeah.
We're starting to see electric bikes a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah, the electric bikes for sure.
Scooters, so you have, you gotta
Yeah.
start to.
Those are all the rental ones though, aren't they, or?
No, some of them.
No.
don't.
They do, well.
My neighbors have them, they're awesome.
Great.
Kind of
They're
getting
affordable.
up there in age. So that would be, if I'm gonna bike, that might be a good thing to do. Don't need the motorcycle.
And they're far more affordable than the cars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
yes.
Any other questions, or?
They are pretty expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I understand from the information we received, it would be the left-hand entrance. How would you get into the restaurant?
So it's basically, so if you see where the canopy area is, we built a retail space there.
Okay, could you point to the canopy there?
Yeah, so that's a canopy,
Right.
and then there's a retail space there that's already built out. It's the
Right
shell
here?
is built out. No, go a little bit further south. Right there, yeah, right there. And there's basically, it's about 2,000 square feet there, roughly, give or take. It's not a bowling alley, it's a nice kind of wide space. We had interest from a couple users for it, and then we realized we could connect to the back and then open that up. And then basically there's existing doors that go into the canopy area there.
Right.
And we actually we took out some of the windows that were there because they were just in bad shape, and right now they're kind of, it's wood and drywall behind it, but probably with the building plans, I would imagine the intent is to open that up and get some natural light in there so you can see out there. So, yeah, there would be a kind of like a small little outdoor bar there, and that connects, there's an interior bar on that one side. Obviously, would be applying for a liquor license, and, with the building department, we saw their comments, nothing unexpected. The intent is to put a grease trap in there, and we've already done some due diligence on that, and I think we can get that to work. And basically, all the plumbing is roughed in there, and all the electrical's there, and all the fire alarm is there, all the under canopy stuff is there. So this building is really ready to go. We spent about $4 million so far renovating it, and that doesn't include what the tenants have put into it so far. So, I think it's going to be a great site.
What will go to the right?
To the right.
The restaurant's going to be where the canopy is, and down, square it off?
Yeah, square it off, and then
The door?
Yeah, and then next door is AutoZone, which is already approved.
Yeah.
But that doesn't run all the way to the back. It has a little runway that goes to the fire exit in the back side and the loading area.
Okay.
And then there's the kind of squared off into the I don't want to call it the dead space, but the storage space, which is already there.
What's to the right of the restaurant?
Well, to the right would be the autos going down.
No, going across.
You're looking at
Oh,
that.
no,
to the
so
front.
the
right
restaurant
thing.
runs all the way to the back.
Oh,
To
okay.
that squared off area there.
So,
All right.
okay, so isn't that where the catalog was?
Yeah.
That's where the catalog was.
I thought we were talking about another use for the catalog space.
No,
it's the
the
kind-
restaurant's gonna take the whole, do you mind if I get up there and just point it out to you?
Yeah, I think it'd be good.
It might be easier,
So, I mean, one of the reasons I guess we're really only doing this hearing for the parking and stuff. That's why we're not really seeing what's really there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so it's just,
People at home, they don't feel that we're just planning all this thing
the
with.
restaurant runs from here to here. And there's already a built-out entrance right here, so this is like a little retail bay that's there, and it has like a little bit of drywall here. It's gonna run like this. Then you got AutoZone that kind of runs like this to their loading area. This is the dead space back here. That's the 8,000 square feet.
Okay.
And then we have a 10,000 square foot kind of squared off space, and then the rest is Planet Fitness. And there's this area over here is like unusable space. It's like the meter rooms and all that stuff.
Okay.
So that's about 500 square feet. So, so yeah, that's really what it is at the end of the day. I'm not saying that we're not going to use the 8,300 square feet. We just don't have anything concrete for it. And if we do, for sure, it's not being used as retail space or anything else. It'll be either light office or some sort of storage. So, which has extremely low parking counts.
Right.
So,
Right.
Good.
yeah.
Right.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Mike, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, you can take that off now, but like.
No question, Charlie, no.
Jane, you had something?
I just, one quick question, John. You talk about the facade build-out. Will that differ from what's already been approved by design review?
No, just the
okay.
canopy area, right now that was untouched. And that was essentially approved by design review because it's just sitting there. You could see it because we didn't really have a plan for it. So I would assume that that's probably going to be modernized to either match the rest of the center or, I don't know, give it something. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. That'll probably be a building plan process.
It'll be a design review process.
Design review process, yeah, we could probably
As
go in
well.
for that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the same architect that
Okay.
we're using that did everything for all the build-outs, with the exception of AutoZone, because they have their own internal architect for the interior stuff. But he's aware, and we could probably find a way to tie it in that, ties in with the rest of the property and gives the tenants some sort of, recognition or something
Okay.
like that, so.
And you'll want to show the finishes for the outdoor patio area,
yep.
and then also update the site plan that we have with the details on the outdoor patio area. And I would say, come back with that plan as a waiver, because tonight was really to talk about the use, but we still need all the details of, what you're doing outside for the patio, because you'll need that to file for your liquor license
Right.
as well, so.
Sorry, Gene, I have a question on that. You mentioned something about bollards separating liquor license area from parking area. Is it a requirement that there's one continuous barrier all the way around with like chains and a wall or something? Or can they do like potted plants with like spacing?
Well, it's kind of twofold. So really, because it's in a parking lot, they're going to want something that's going to ensure safety. So Teddy G's is a good example where there's the bollards and the fencing, but the only way to get in there is through the restaurant, and that's more of kind of an ABCC condition.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's
it's kind of
absolutely
both.
the intent is to have, nobody's going into the patio area.
From the outside.
From
They
the
have to go
outside,
through the
yeah.
restaurant.
So, I've seen it before, where you push the potted plants a little bit back, and you have basically no entranceway, and then bollards
Yeah.
to prevent vehicles from entering that area. And those bollards are like fortresses, so yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And we did have, I can't remember who used it, but the concrete blocks that almost look like stone too. We had somebody use those when we were doing the temporary outdoor
Yeah.
seating during COVID.
Yeah,
And those worked out.
The site in Warwick has, beautiful like potted plants that kind of separate. So the patio is more in front of the shopping center. It's a very similar looking property, but the reality is where this is kind of offset to the side, and it's not really on the frontage. But, he did, really nice potted plants, and there are bollards in front of it. And again, it's a pretty safe setup, and there's no way you could get into that area without going into the restaurant first. So, yeah.
I think actually that, with the COVID situation, the ABC was a little more flexible on the outside serving areas. And I think they relied more on what the town agreed to. But I think on, permanent licensed areas, they'll have much more, stricter requirements for access.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and the intent is to comply with what the building department needs, what public safety needs. The intent of this is just to get the parking situation figured out here, so, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? So we need a motion then, Jean, or
Yes, please.
we have?
Make a motion to accept the,
Be a modification of the mix of uses with the parking provided. And then I would also say with the understanding that the applicant would need to come back with waiver of site plan once the outdoor patio and other details are known, and that they need to return to design review for the updates to the facade and the signage.
Okay, that's the motion.
that's the motion.
Very good. Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Mike?
Hi, Charlie, yes.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much, appreciate
Thank
it.
you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Welcome to town. Look forward to having you.
Thank
No,
you.
just what he said tonight. right?
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your stay.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, next we have either old or new business. Jane, do you have any old or new business? Who?
No, I don't.
Mike, any old or new business?
None, no.
Okay. The only question I have, Jane, is on Rascallion. Have they come back to you at all? as
No,
requested?
not at all. So, my understanding is that the Board of Selectmen's meeting last Monday, I believe it was, he was supposed to appear for a continuation of the public hearing to change the liquor license for the outdoor patio area, and then he's also bought the home field brew downstairs. So at the last time he had met with us, he talked about just using the downstairs as kitchen space. But actually now they do want to have some seating in there, and they want to have seating on the patio, which back in as late as January, or as early on as January, I had emailed him and had actually met with him a few times about the need to come back to the planning board for the changes so the site plan could be approved so that he could get his change of liquor license, and he hasn't come back. I did have an appointment with him 2 weeks ago after the selectmen's meeting. They had continued it to allow him to come to the planning board, and I did have an appointment scheduled with him, but unfortunately I had been in an accident and was waiting to get into the doctor's. And that day, I happened to get a doctor's appointment. So I gave alternate dates and times, and he said none of them worked for him. And I let him know if he had a completed, I asked, do you have a complete application and plan you could drop off? But I hadn't heard anything back, and he hasn't called to reschedule. So it's my understanding the Board of Selectmen asked Robin Grimm to reach out to him to see what his plans are. But I had given him tonight's meeting date to try to, get that taken care of for him, but I don't have anything, so I
Yeah,
couldn't
the
get
prior
him scheduled.
expectation they had was that he would have, come in, had the plans reviewed and so forth, and a recommendation back from planning,
Right,
which didn't happen.
didn't happen, and I am on vacation the last 2 weeks in August, but I have no indication that anything's forthcoming. If something comes in before I left for vacation, I could review it and leave my recommendation for the meeting. You have to meet on the 23rd now, but
Do we know if he's using the outside spaces now?
I believe so. I mean, I've seen a few people sitting there when I've gone by.
It really isn't licensed for that, though. Is that the
No,
case?
no, it's not.
Maybe we can just follow up with Robin then and see.
See what happened, right?
Great. Very good. Anything else?
All set? Thank
Okay,
you.
ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Mike?
Aye.
All right, very good. Thank you.